Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk episode 258. Lu Perez. Who? Yeah, that Lu. Cusio Sanchez, North Carolina's finest. Ready to rock, ready to roll. Here we go.
That stands out in my mind because that was, we spent a lot of money just in airfare and hotels and food and everything. We came out, me and my buddy, and took a chance and to come out and hang out and see what the community was really about. I was like, man, there's no other community, car, truck, whatever that I need to be in. This is where I need to be. This is where I'm going to be.
Damn, son. Seeing is believing. And our title sponsor, United Pacific, makes seeing a whole lot easier. The crispness of the United Pacific LED headlights, taillights, marker lights, and more makes seeing and showing your truck that much better. It's time to upgrade your old dim halogens for new LED headlights, taillights, and more. They offer the brightest and latest LED technology. Headlights are available up to 1,600 lumens, easy to install, and it fits right in the OEM housing. How about upgrading to sequential taillights? They're DOT approved and ready to ship today. DOT approved. And for you 73 to 80 GMC and Chevy square body guys, they've got the new front parking lights, LED with stainless steel bezel. Think UP Car Parts. That's upcarparts.com.
Let me tell you what Melbourne Toast is packing right here. All right, we've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What's up, C10 Nation? Episode 258 with Lu Perez coming at ya. Hopefully you checked out the little bonus we did with the C10s at the ranch, Tawny and Miguel. That was fun, chatting it up with them. Hopefully they had a great event. Everything looked good, so hopefully everybody had a great time out there. C10s at the ranch 3.0. Cusio Sanchez. I love getting to know these guys. Obviously, I've met Lu, been out to his show. He's been out to the Get Down. He says he's going to come out to the reunion. Stoked about that. But when you dive in on a pod, you get to know them a little bit better. You get to know how they get into trucks. What's their story? How'd they grow up? What's the story now? What's the future look like? What's a build you want to build? So on and so forth. You guys have heard the questions, right? So love getting to know Lu, and why is his Instagram Cusio Sanchez? Well, I ask him that. There's a lot of stuff I ask him, so hopefully you dig it. One thing we do talk about is the C10 Fall Revival. So they took a break last year, 2022, and they're back with a new venue, and it sounds legit. Awesome. Room for RVs, room for so many trucks. I mean, it sounds like they can handle like 1 million trucks. So I think he's saying in the next few weeks they're going to start dropping some social media on the new location, maybe some videos showing off what they got. So pay attention to C10 Fall Revival's IG, and I'm sure Lou's and Casey's and Benny's and everybody else that's involved with the C10 Fall Revival. October of 23 coming at you. I think it's 21-22 of 23. Something like that. We talk about it. C10 Fall Revival that Friday, that Saturday. It's like the third week in October, North Carolina. Good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, how about episode 259, which is going to drop next week? I had an in-studio guest named Scott Nelson, the artist formerly known as GSI Scott. So back in October of 2022, Scott made a post, and it said, hey, I'm no longer going to be with GSI. And he's been there almost 20 years, or he was there 20 years. So that was like, okay, And I just said, well, when you're ready to tell us what's up and you want to talk about what the next chapter is, especially if it's in our scene and it has to do with trucks and C10s and everything else, then we'd love to, sit down with you. So he reached out to me and said, I'm ready to sit down. So episode 259 is going to be with Scott Nelson, what he's been up to and what he's going to be doing. So tune in next week for 259 with Scott Nelson. It's a good one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sitting down with him. I actually sat down with him today, and this is going to drop tomorrow, so I sat down with him on Monday. So tune in next week. He also has some social media that he will be putting out to the world in probably the next few days. As of this dropping on Tuesday, hopefully, any day now, Scott's going to drop some stuff, and we're going to piggyback on that with his episode 259. Scott Nelson coming at you next week. I hope you enjoyed C10s at the Ranch, the bonus pod with Tawny and Miguel. Lu Perez coming at you. Of course, I hope you enjoyed that one. I know I did. And then Scott Nelson next week. And I've got a whole laundry list of other guests to get scheduled and ready to rock. So have a great week. I hope everybody's doing great. Hopefully you guys are out cruising, enjoying your trucks, and having a good time. You know how to get a hold of me, Ronnie at Truck Talk Media. That's Ronnie, Ronnie at Truck Talk Media. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for doing what you're doing. And questions, comments, concerns, let me know. All right, guys. Have a great week. Late. All right. Out of North Carolina, Mr. Lu Perez. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, when you put a Hot Pocket in the microwave and you cook it too long, that's how hot you are right now. 2 publications. You're getting a lot of love, bro. It's super cool to see the fruits of your labor. And really, we're going to get into Dirty Sanchez being in C10 Builder's Guide. Obviously, you're 79. Louie, you road trip that. So honored to have Lou on right now. Lu Perez. A lot going on, Lou. Thanks for taking time to sit down with C10 Talk. And I just want to get to know Lou and the story and, the story behind the man, not just the trucks, but the man, the family, the whole deal.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for having me. And it's always an honor to chat with you. And, we did the revival, a while back, and now to do this is, man, it's an honor. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's jump in. Your Instagram name, what's the story behind that?
So it's kind of funny with that. So, all right. So, I'm fairly new to the whole C10 world, the whole truck world, or the truck community, let's say that. So believe it or not. So probably back in, I don't know, probably 2011, 2012 was when I think I got on Instagram, and I didn't know him at the time, but Israel, out of Texas, everybody knows Israel. Good friend of mine now. I love Israel to death. But he had Dirty Sanchez.
Yep.
He had that as his handle. So I was like, well, shit, I want to be Dirty Sanchez too, because that was what we had named the Blazer, the K5 at the time. So it was like, okay, well, that's kind of what we do. We put our trucks as our profile picture, and that was what I wanted to do. So Cusio in Spanish is dirty. So I just like, okay, well, we'll do it that way. And it worked out. I know some people call it Cusio or, whatever, but it's Cusio Sanchez, and that's where that comes from. So it just went with the whole Dirty Sanchez thing.
So in full disclosure, that's what I assumed. And I looked up in my very Anglo, I looked up Cusio, and it didn't, it said like cousin or something. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. So that's what I assumed it was. But yeah. Okay. So you pronounce it Cusio Sanchez.
Yeah. Israel's probably going to talk shit to me about, the slang of the Hispanic slang, but yeah, that's what it means to me. Dirty Sanchez.
Well, let's just break this down with Israel. I mean, he's kind of like the whitest version of Dirty Sanchez, whereas you're more authentic, right? If you're like, if your buddy's coming into town and you're like, hey, if you want these tacos, then you need to go to Cusio's. If you just want like, maybe the, white people tacos, you're going to go over here. But you think about it too. Cusio's taco shop, it's dark. You got to kind of take a couple lefts, a couple rights. You don't even know what's going to happen, right? But by the time you leave there, you're like, dude, these were like the best tacos.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be in the hood, but it's good shit when you leave.
It's worth it. It's worth the risk, right? It's worth the risk.
Exactly.
You might not have wheels and tires when you leave, but those tacos were so damn good.
Israel's probably having a white people taco night right now. I can feel it. I know it.
By the way, I just came across that within the last month. So for the audience, do yourself a favor, especially if you're white. Pull up White People Taco Night and just enjoy the lyrics. The best part of that is usually one night a week at my house. So my wife is it's like my kids love it. I had to show them, and my wife's like, "Yep, that's it, man. White People Taco Night."
It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it, man.
I think I need to come up with a little WPTN, little White People Taco Night. We need to come up with something. So,
as long as you have lettuce and tomato, it's definitely white people taco.
Well, you got to have a little cheese too. So
little cheese, yellow.
yeah, little yellow cheese and some hard shells and make it all right. So, okay, so we've got a ton to go over. The fall reunion, the C10 fall reunion. We've got your different builds. Let's go back to the beginning. You said you felt like you're fairly new to the community. Take us back, dude. Let's get to know Lou.
All right, man. So far as the C10 community and just the C10 in general, I mean, we'll take it back to 2009. So 2008, 2009 was when I actually bought my first truck. The first truck I ever owned. I was always kind of into the Hondas and the kind of the Euro scene. But like I said, 2008, 2009, I bought my first truck. It was a 1983. It was like a baby blue, all original, long bed, square body. Beautiful truck. I actually bought it to kind of do, just moving furniture, carrying my lawnmower around. I mean, just a utilitarian kind of vehicle, but man, when I got it, it was at the time, it was the oldest vehicle I'd ever owned. And it was just, man, I fell in love. I was like, you know what? There's nothing better than this truck. And I did a few things to it. After I owned it for a year or two, I lowered it. I put a set of 22s on it, I think. Like I said, I painted it. I had it painted, which was a stupid idea. Did the wheels, did the lowering. Didn't really do much else to it. It had a 305 in it. It was automatic. Just loved that truck. Well, I ended up keeping it for a few years, and then I ended up selling it. And then right after, in between the long bed and then the next truck, which is Hank was really supposed to be my first big build. So Hank was a 83 square body shorty. And, but in between those two trucks, I mean, I bought a dually. I bought a 3500, like a 80. It was a square body. All my trucks have been square bodies. Had a dually. I had a couple of shorties, a couple of long beds. I mean, I had quite a few trucks in between the two, but the long bed was my first. Moving on to Hank. So this was probably in 2011, around June or July of 2011. I bought an 83 and named it Hank. And it was going to be my first big build. Like, I really wanted to build a really nice truck. I'd been to Texas. I'd been to Louisiana, some of those shows, and seen like what Extensive was doing at the time. I loved what they were doing with the square bodies back in the late 2000 era. Loved what they were doing. So I really wanted that style truck. So I bought Hank, bought a bunch of parts, man. I bought a set of intros, Twisted Beastas. I remember those, man. That was like such a big purchase. I mean, they were like, $4,500 at the time. Huge purchase for me. I had a Porterbuilt drop member. Full air ride. I mean, everything. I was going to do it a little bit different. I had a guy here local in Greensboro. He built Grand Nationals. He built the Buicks. So I had him working on me it was a 290 inline six. I think it was a 290 inline six. And it was going to be something different because everybody was running, you know, big blocks, 350s. LS's really hadn't came on strong at that time. So I was going to do an inline six, automatic, you know, the big wheels. Not a lot of people around this area was doing that at that time. So I feel like Hank was really it was going to be something special for me. I think I sent you a couple photos, and I'll post some on my Instagram and Facebook. But I had commissioned one of my buddies, really good, probably my best friend now. I had commissioned him to do the framework because I was traveling a lot at the time with my job. So I had commissioned him to install the Porterbuilt, do the rear, the back half, and really just get the rolling chassis rolling. And then I was going to do the rest. So that was 2011, and I got it really far. I mean, it was painted. I had painted it. It was two-tone. The interior still wasn't done, but the paint was done. The framework was done. The motor and transmission was in progress. I still had a little bit more to go, but by 2014, me and my wife, you know, we got to the point to where we knew that we were going to have a son. And, you know, we had some stuff that needed to be taken care of. So at that time, I had kind of lost interest in the truck just because everything was taking so long. And, you know, I mean, I was traveling, didn't have a lot of time to work on it. And I think a lot of us in the community, whether it's, I mean, custom cars, trucks, whatever, I think we all get to that point where we get burned out on something. And I had just gotten to that point to where I was like, I was just tired. I was frustrated. It wasn't moving as fast. I mean, you're talking 3 years. And I just got to that point where I was done with it. So I told her, you know, let's sell it. Let's cut our ties with it, and we'll build something later. And, you know, it was the.
Okay. Well, okay. So we're going to pause on Hank a little bit there. So the pictures you did send, and for the audience, we'll put these out, but you're getting a lot of love, right? You're taking it, and you got to remember, you're taking it out, and it's tough because you're like, well, I'm not driving it out. I'm taking it. I'm able to bag it down. It looks good. People are loving it. So it's kind of cool that you're like, well, because I got to think when you leave the show, people are taking pictures and they're seeing the potential. Like a lot of times at that point, they can see the forest from the trees. So they can see, especially you sent me one where it's painted two-tone and it's bagged all the way down, and you're like, damn. And if you're telling me that that's in between 11 and 14, then that's a little bit ahead of its time. You're talking about Porterbuilt, so you've got the drop member. I mean, at the time that was it, right there. Up until 14, some of these other guys, obviously Roadster Shop wasn't as heavy into the C10s. GSI comes on board around 2014. So Porterbuilt was really the big player in the scene for that type of frame and chassis modification. So, okay, so I'm gonna hold you on Hank. What I gotta know is, in 09, you buy your first truck, 83 long bed. It's a pawpaw truck. It's funny to think that, what happened before 09? Like, did you always like trucks? Did you like cars? Were you just like, I didn't even know about this world, I'm driving a sedan around? At some point, something got you to where you're like, dude, my buddy, Todd has always had a cool truck in high school, or his dad. Something happened somewhere, I assume. Or maybe you just thought, well, dude, I like this looks of this. I see him driving around, and then you get into the scene, and the people start feeling like, dude, the trucks are merely interesting. I just want to hang out with all these people. So there's got to be something there before 09.
So yeah, before 09, really, man, I was into. So it's funny. So I the first car that I ever bought, it was nearly brand new, didn't have many miles on it. The very first car I ever paid for, that was basically brand new, paid for it. I stuck through the process, paid for it. I mean, I was 19 years old, 18 years old, and paid it off, it was mine. It's still mine. I actually still have it. It's still in my garage. I've had it, 22 years now. But that was really my first build. It's a 98 Honda Civic, believe it or not. But I mean, it's custom paint, airbags. It's a really nice car, and it still looks the same. It still looks like it did. The last time it was on the road was when me and my wife got married, and that was back in 2011. So, I mean, but I still have it. And that means a lot to me, just not because it's the vehicle, but just because of what was behind it, buying it, finding it, buying it, paying for it, and staying the course. But I was really into like the mini truck scene. Like I was hanging around those guys, the mini truckers, back when like High Beams, the magazine was out, High Beams and Tailgate. That was kind of like High Beams was the magazine that you wanted to be in if you had a car. If you had like I know Grinder, I know he posted some videos of maybe a month ago. He's got a Honda Accord out in Arizona, and like that was the style back in the day for the mini truck themed cars, I guess you could say. So that's kind of where I was at. But then once I started getting a little bit older, I was like, well, shit, I need a truck. I didn't really think about it. Wasn't going to be a Ford, because my very first car I ever owned was a Ford Taurus. And that was the first and the last. I'll never own another one. Ford, period. So I knew it wasn't going to be a Ford, no F-150s, none of that crap. So the town that I was living in at the time, the small town, we had a mall, a little shopping mall. And that long bed, the blue one, it was sitting out for sale at the edge of the parking lot. And I just happened to ride by it one day, and it just caught my eye. The grill, chrome bumpers, had white wall tires, had the beauty rings on it, just a really good looking truck. And then once I turned around, went back, found it, called the number, the older gentleman, he was probably in his 60s, man. He was a good old boy. And when he turned around, or when he came back and he talked to me about it, just to hear how excited he was to have owned the truck, like, well, shit, I've got to get some enjoyment out of it. So I didn't really have a truck background at all, other than going to the mini truck shows. So I guess I just kind of fell into needing a truck and then finding this community. So
it sounds like even the old boy had it. He was like, this is my baby. And you were like, well, hell, I'm honored to have it. And from there, maybe the smell of gasoline and the 83 and, just carburation. And then from there, you're like, it sounds like that slope nose square headlight kind of got you. You had the 83, you find Hank 83 Shorty, and, you're kind of, that's what started the whole thing off.
Well, and it was funny because like when I first got into these trucks, like the 82 to 87 was my joint, man. That was what I liked. I liked that squared off front end. I didn't care for the, for the 80s back, 73 to 80. I didn't really care for the rounded headlights, that different grill. But now it's like the complete opposite. After I got my Blazer, it's like, oh man, dude, this front end is where it's at, But like I said, I'm a square body guy. I love them, man. And that's the blue one's where it started. And it's just kind of been, I don't know, uphill or downhill from there.
Yeah, it's funny too, like that process of like as kids growing up in the 80s. I love the 81 to 87s, two-tone. In Arizona, you just tan white bottom, two-tone, and everybody was even changing out their round headlights. They were changing out their grill. They were changing out their front clip, and then it just goes full circle. It's kind of crazy how that works.
Yeah, well, Hank, that 83 I had. I hadn't done it yet in the photos that I had sent you, but I was gonna change it out to the Suburban front end. I was gonna do that conversion with the front end, but I don't know, man. Just the way I was setting Hank up was just that Texas feel, man. I just love, it had the little badge on the hood. I mean, just a really cool, just a driver, man. And at the time, I felt like that truck was ahead of it. I did feel like it was ahead of its time just because of the stuff that we were putting onto it. And, And the guy that I had doing the work for me, man, he's just and believe it or not, he's a Ford guy. I mean, he's got a super nice F-100, Solomon style, man. I mean, he's just Ford through and through. But I mean, he was really turning that truck into something special. And unfortunately, like I said, I think Hank is actually in Davenport, Iowa right now. The guy that bought it for me, for far as I know, he still owns it. It's got like a twin turbo 427 in it, something crazy, big motor. I'll send you some photos of that as well. But it's still kicking, man.
What would you say if you look back, 11 to 14, how are you even finding out about Porterbuilt? How are you finding out about Texas style, the wheels? Are you buying magazines? Are you looking at trucking? Are you looking at street trucks? Where are you getting exposed to this if it's not through, what you eventually becomes Instagram?
So for me, it was always the magazines. That's where it started. Trucking, street trucks, that was where it was at for me. Street trucks, man, I just couldn't wait for the new street trucks to always come out. The local Walmart, I mean, man, even like the local grocery store that we had in town, I mean, they would always be there. And I never had a subscription. I would just always make sure I go to the stand. Because for me, it was nothing better than going to the stand and just standing there, and even being in your early 20s, man, it was fun, to see because it always seemed like the style, like the California style, hit first, it migrated east, but I felt like the East Coast was always, we were always just trying to play catch up. And then for me, it gradually started being like, man, Texas is like the shit. Texas is really coming out with some badass trucks. And once I seen what the Texas guys were doing, they really wasn't doing, especially with the C10s, like the crazy paint. They weren't doing all that. They were just keeping it clean, simple, big wheels, super nice motors, clean interior, but the truck still had its classic style. And I just love that. To me, that's my style of truck. And then now with the patina, man, there's nothing better than a patina truck that has all those original cues, but with a clean interior, clean motor, clean bed, and big wheels. That's like perfect recipe for me.
Yeah, just like Louie, right? I mean, you guys, you implemented that recipe on Louie and your 79 GMC and patina, the big lip, sitting just right, interior, and it's a driver. It can move. That was the difference between Hank, right? You just got to where. Yeah. So kind of a cool story. So now let's go back to Hank. So it's 2014. Yep. You and Mama, you're a team, and you're sitting down, and you're like, "Hey, we gotta change some things up."
Yeah. So 2014 comes around. We find out that we got a little guy on the way, and a lot of people, well, everybody, I don't hide Louie's life, my son. I don't hide his life from anybody. And I've had the conversation with a lot of people, and I love it when people ask me like, what's going on with him, or what. It's better to ask than to stare, or it's better to ask and learn than to just wonder, and make your own assumptions or make your own conclusions. So for me, when Louie was born, my son, we didn't know, we had no idea that, he was going to have complications. He was going to have to have open heart surgery. And, he's been through a lot. And so when that happened, that was when we sold the truck. We needed a SUV. I'm not rich by no means. I mean, that was a rough time, when he was first born. And like I said, we bought a Nissan Xterra, believe it or not. That was our first SUV, a Nissan Xterra, and it was great, man. It was awesome. But we sold Hank. I actually delivered it to the guy in Fort Wayne, Indiana, because we went up to. That was when we went to tell the family, my wife's family in Indiana. We went up there to tell them that that we were having a little guy, and the guy met me there in Fort Wayne. We delivered it. He picked it up on a trailer, enclosed, and it went about its way. So January 2015, my son was born, and that's when our life changed, forever. It was a tough time, man. From 2015, January 2015 till 2019, it was about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years that we just stepped away from basically everything, and our priorities changed for the better. It was good. We had to take care of our family, and we had to take care of Louie and make sure that he was getting the attention that he needed. And that, it's just crazy, man. It's that period of time was tough, but we learned a lot, and we learned the value of family. We learned the value of life, and we learned that these trucks, these cars, all this materialistic stuff it's just icing on the cake, man. It really is. And the friends, the family that stand behind you and that stand with you is what's important. And I learned through that time that the friends that I had made in this C10 community, they're my family, and they stuck by me, and the ones that were there then are still there now. So that's kind of, when we sold Louie, or when we sold Hank, then, like I said, Louie, our son, was born, and then we took that break to get him where he needed to be. Well, then, there was some breaks in there, like probably 2016, I believe it was, late, maybe mid 2016 was when I bought the K5, Dirty Sanchez. So, when I bought it, I wanted something that we could take the family in. You can't, it's kind of hard with a baby, car seat, all this. Now we got medical equipment, we got wagons, we got all this other stuff that we got to carry with us. So now we have to have something that, is not, is going to hold, that's going to cover equipment and stuff. So it's not getting rained on. Just something that we can enjoy. And if it's a sunny day, we can take the top off, we can cruise, we can have a good time. And that the K5 kind of, it filled that void. So the K5, of course, like you said earlier, it was just, that thing got shot like 4 years ago. That was when I met Solomon, man. That was the first time I'd ever met Solomon. I met him at Battle in Bama. And I think of Solomon as a family member. I met him that day, and I think he was doing like insurance or something. And we talked, and, man, Solomon has grown. And I think they just had a baby yesterday.
Today, man, I think it might have been today. He posted it today, so it was either yesterday or today. He was out here, and I was like, dude, you made it home, because he was here Saturday, flew home Saturday night in Phoenix, and then whether it was Sunday or Monday. But so let me take you back a little bit. I love the depth. And I love that you're not afraid to dive into that depth. And like we talked about a little bit off air, I look at the podcast as every truck has a story, and every family has a story, and you're bringing the two things together.
Yeah.
When you're going through 14, 15, Louie's born, life is changing, life changes with a newborn or anyway, right?
Yeah.
So now a newborn with special needs is completely different.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, did you miss Hank? Did you have a void there where you're like, I've got to have a distraction, not necessarily to get away from my family, but hey guys, I've got Joe Road, Classic Performance Products, CPP back. Joe, let's talk X10 spindles. Go.
Yeah, CPP's one of our most popular parts through the years has been our 2.5-inch drop modular spindles. Really popular part. Well, we've kind of taken that to the next step. We've emulated late model Corvette, Silverado, Chevy technology into our new X10 drop spindles. They use a steel hub, sealed bearing hub, really strong piece.
As you know, Joe, so many guys are building bigger trucks, bigger wheels, bigger brakes, everything bigger and better. Is this X10 something they should be considering?
Oh, absolutely. It's oversized bearings. Definitely great for a guy using big brakes, big wheels, which I'm sure all your guys are.
All right, guys, there you go. If you're looking to upgrade, you need a new spindle anyways, you're going to lower your truck, you're running a bigger wheel, a bigger brake. CPP's got it for you with their new X10 spindle. Joe, as always, thank you. CPP, classicperform.com. It's classicperform.com. Hey, guys, how about a happy 10-year anniversary to the team at Pro Performance? For 10 years, Travis and his team have provided their customers the best products on the market for our trucks. They sell Dakota Digital, Bear Brakes, Boyd Welding, QA1, Vintage Air, and more. They're your one-stop shop for all your truck part needs, stocking fast-moving items to help with production delays. So think Pro Performance when you are creating that parts list for your build. azproperformance.com. That's azproperformance.com.
Since the 1960s, US Mags has held the title for the longest-running custom wheel tradition. Experience the wheels that made history and set the trends for American truck culture for decades to come. From cast wheels to full custom 1- and 2-piece forged wheels, US Mags keeps you and your truck in mind with every new design and model. Our cast wheel series are designed specifically for Chevy trucks and are stocked and ready to ship, giving you the wheels you need when you need them with perfect fitment. Set your ride apart with our custom forged wheels, available in just about any finish and fitment desired. US Mags are guaranteed to distinguish your style and attitude from the rest.
Did you feel like, did you miss Hank? Did you have a void there where you're like, I've got to have a distraction, not necessarily to get away from my family, but there's people out there that listen, and whether or not they've been through the same thing, whether or not they have a special needs, whether or not they're going through whatever they're going through, everybody's going through something. So everybody's got a cool truck, that we sit down with. Everybody's got a story. Their truck might have a story. It might be combined together, and you just never know what people are going through. So that's why we're fortunate that you are an open book with you and your family, and you always have been.
Man, so I've always been as transparent with anybody and everybody as possible. And yeah, man, we'll get into it. So when we sold Hank, in the moment, it was still a few months before Louie, quite a few months before our son was born, because we were trying to be proactive. We were trying to, my wife, she was, nesting, she was getting the baby room ready. She was getting, we were like, man, we had dump trucks of diapers set up. We had, the typical parent kind of pregame. We were rolling, man. And it's like, man, we had an SUV. I think we put like some mud tires on it. It's like, man, fuck yeah, we're gonna have a really nice, a cruiser Xterra, man. We were ready to do it, but it didn't take the wind out of my sails at first when I sold it, because we had the enjoyment of, we thought that we were going to be, I hate this word, but normal. We were going to be like normal parents. You know what I mean? We were going to go through the normal things. We were going to do the normal, coming home after a few days and just being able to take some time off and be with our son. But then when, you can't do that. Once we, man, it's tough. Once we found out that he was a little different because of his heart, the wind got sucked out slowly. When he was first born, we were in a like a women's hospital, where the women have babies, and this, we just sit out in the waiting room and wait. Well, that's where he was born, and my wife Elizabeth, she's a rock star, man, but she got to hold him for like 20 minutes, and then they came in, they took him away because of his blood glucose, his blood sugar was low, and his oxygen levels were low. So a month later, he was rushed to Duke University Hospital. He was life flighted via a international, one of the big trucks. He was taken down to Duke University, and for the next 6 months, he was in the hospital fighting for his life. So in those 6 months, I went from driving, 13 minutes one way to work to driving an hour every day in a little Saturn, little car that I'd bought. I paid like a couple $100 for it, was driving it back and forth just so I could be with my family every day. My wife, she stopped doing what she was doing. She had a hair business. She was cutting hair. We let that go. She was at the hospital with him every day, never left. It was tough, man. So, and in that time, and this is down the road, we can talk about this later, but the Ronald McDonald House, that's why it has so much meaning to me. And the revival, that's our charity, right? So we'll come back to that later. But me and my wife, we basically lived at the Ronald McDonald House for 6 months. Louie, he had to have open heart surgery. I think he was maybe 2 months old. My wife, she knows this stuff, man. She's got it blueprinted in her head, but I think he was 2 months old. He had to have open heart surgery. He had a pretty nasty hole in his heart, and they had to go in and fix that. And since he's fully cleared, his heart is fully cleared from doctors. Thank God. He's doing great with that. And then, of course, once his heart issue was repaired, there was some complications. There was risks that we took as parents during that procedure, things that could happen. His diaphragm was damaged, so he had to recover from that. And then during his heart, before his heart procedure, open heart surgery, his lungs took a lot of damage. They got really wet, saturated. It took a toll on him, on his lungs. So he had to have a trach. Man, we had no idea what a trach was. I didn't know what a trach was. Never been around it. Never even seen it. That's some scary shit, man, when they tell you that your son's got to have a hole cut in his throat, in his neck to be able to breathe. But that was the only way that we could bring him home. And, we were given an option. He could just stay in the hospital until he got better, quote unquote better. Or they could do a trach, and we do all the training, we do all the CPR stuff, we do everything, and we bring him home. Well, there was no question, like, we're taking our son home. We're going to take our son home, and we're going to take him all over this country. We're going to take him all over this world because he deserves that, And so after the 6 months, we loaded up our Nissan Xterra, put his little ass in the back. We left medication, like vital medication that he needed. We left it at the damn hospital, had to turn around. We'd only been gone like 5 minutes, had to turn right around, go back and get it, because we were just, I tell you what, man, people talk about a scary drive, scary ride sometimes. That's a scary ride, man. You've had this baby that's been on death's bed for quite a while, and then you jump in a SUV with him strapped in, and you get on the interstate and you drive an hour home. That's some scary shit, because now you don't have nurses, you don't have respiratory therapists, you don't have doctors and surgeons and medical teams, and you don't have that comfort. You don't have that cushion of comfort, knowing that you can just pull a string, or push a button, and you have a whole team there to help you. Now it's just me and my wife. That's it. Nobody else. So that was the day that we left the hospital, and it was a great day, man. I'll never forget that as long as I live, and special. But once we got him home, it was still a struggle, man, because we had to do trach cares, we had to trach changes, and he had to go to see the heart doctor every week, there for the first little bit, and then every couple of weeks, and medications, and man, it was just nonstop, So my wife, man, Elizabeth, and a lot of people know her because she's on social media, Mama Bear, Mama Bear. She's she's a mama bear, man, because if it wasn't for her, man, neither one of us would be here, because she is definitely the rock of the Perez household, you know? And so Louie, we're lucky to have Louie, but we're really lucky to have her. So yeah, man, that was our stint in the pen, right down at Duke. And it's the whole Duke story. It's kind of crazy how that works, because now I actually work for Duke, and you know, I wanted to be able to give back my life, you know, my talents of what my profession is. I wanted to give back to that hospital because they gave me something that I'll never be able to repay, you know? So that came full circle for me. And that's how I get through my days, you know, with what I do for a living. But now, you know, once we got Louie home, man, you know, there was some really hard days, hard weeks, hard nights, but man, every year that has passed, he's got stronger. He's gotten, man, I mean, he went through COVID, you know, he's went through, you know, his one morning he woke up, I think he was a little over a year old, and his blood sugar was like, what, 14? It was like 14. So, I mean, he was lethargic, you know, he was blue. I thought we were losing him that morning, you know, and it's been tough, man. He's really shit, man. That's why I don't have no hair, you know. But it's been, I wouldn't change a thing, because it really, it shows me, he has shown me how to be respectful, how to be grateful, and how to try to be a better human, you know, because it's really easy to be a dick. It's really hard to be a nice person. It really is. And I thank him for that, for showing me how to do that, you know?
Well, and it sounds like Liz as well is showing you the way constantly. So you've got that support, you know, for you and your family. And
yeah,
for the audience, 14 is really low. 80 to 120 is normal. So when you're like, is 14 good? Is that bad? What is that? That's very, 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 a lot of times when we see 14, it says low. It doesn't even say, it doesn't say 14, depending, you know, as a paramedic. One thing to jump to real quick, and you do not have to get into depth on it, but as a guy who's going to listen to pod, when you talk about your work and what you do for Duke, real quick, just, you know, 2 sentences. What do you do for Duke?
So my profession, I'm a repair specialist. Like I'm a technician, basically. I mean, work with my hands, you know. So if you're, I work with the surgeons. I work with surgeons and OR staff. I sharpen instrumentation. So anything from an ingrown toenail, if you go in for a surgery for an ingrown toenail, to a lumbar laminectomy, you know, spinal, brain, craniotomy, things like that. I sharpen, repair, service, PM. So anything surgical, Da Vinci robots, you know, we work on that. Yeah, so I've been doing that this will be my 17th year. But I've been with Duke for the past 5 years. So I've been with Duke, and it's been life changing, because I work with the doctors that worked on Louie. And I'm able to, I know the importance of what those surgeons work with every day. I know the importance of a patient safety. People don't think about it, you know, just if you're not in that world and you've never had a family member go into a procedure and have them laying on a table. I mean, man, it's always 50-50. And I know the importance of that now. So I'm giving back through my profession, you know?
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's well, and you get a sense of gratitude for doing that. And like you said, the Ronald McDonald House, being out to your show, knowing that, you know, the buck doesn't stop, you know, just with them or with you. It's a charitable cause, and how can you give back? Because if people didn't give back, whether that was through your profession, whether that was through charitable donations and so on and so forth. I mean, there's somebody out there that's in your shoes that you were in, you know, essentially 8 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, you know, when I was growing up, I remember going to McDonald's. I think we all remember going to McDonald's when we were a kid, you know, and you see the change bucket at the drive-through, or you see the change bucket with the Ronald McDonald House logo at the cash register asking for, you know, loose change. I never did I ever put any change in there, ever. And I you know, always thought something totally different, whether it was a scam or whether that money never went anywhere. But that really came full circle, man. And knowing that they took care of us, no questions asked, didn't ask us for no money. They fed us, they roomed us totally free for 6 months. Yeah, I'm gonna do everything in my power, because I know for a fact that there is another C10 brother here in North Carolina. And right after I think it was the second revival, he contacted me, and man, he was just like in tears because his son or his daughter and son-in-law had to stay at the Ronald McDonald House right after our show for like a few weeks, and they never knew anything about it. And he said, from here on out, every year we'll be there, you know?
Cool. Yeah.
So comes full circle, man. You never know.
Yeah. Way to give back. We love it. So, I mean, where do we go? You've got Dirty Sanchez. I can only imagine you tell mama, you're like, hey babe, we're going to get a blazer. It's going to, we can put 4, maybe 5 kids. It's going to be awesome. And she's just like, hey, whatever. I love you. We've been through this. We sold Hank. I want you to get something. And I could see you, you know, sitting there at the kitchen table selling her on it. Look at this one. And I could tell you, obviously, I didn't know who Lu Perez was until I saw that blazer. And I was just like, and it's probably from Battle in Bama that when it started dropping in the photos, and I'm just like, obviously the 77 is just special because of the yellow trim and it pops off of that black. I love the Steelers, so I'm seeing the you know, the gold, the yellow, the black, the wheels, the stance, and you're like, there's no way this guy will ever sell this. And then, you know, we'll get into that. But so walk us through Dirty Sanchez.
All right, so Dirty Sanchez, like I said, it was probably, what was it? I'm looking at, I mean, I had to write notes down, but so Dirty Sanchez, man, I bought it, I think it was in 2014. So it was like June or July of 14. I had a 64 Impala, and we were cruising this and that, you know, I love that car.
So you sell Hank, and you already had the blazer, or No,
I sold Hank, and then I bought the blazer. I bought the blazer after I sold Hank. So it was kind of like all right, I'm selling the you know, the regular cab. I need more room, you know. That, you know, we bought the SUV, but then I didn't have anything. I had the Impala, but I needed a truck. I mean, I needed a C10 in my life. That was like, we're crazy, man. We're just crazy about these damn trucks. And I had to have something. So that's kind of where the whole blazer come about. It's like, okay, well, we're going to put a car seat. You know, we've always had a Bulldog. It's like, you throw the Bulldog in the back, you know, mama can sit in the back with him, or, you know, whatever, you know, she drove the hell out of it too. But yeah, man. And that was Craigslist days. You know, that was back when we were on Craigslist, like Marketplace, you know, as shitty as Marketplace is. But yeah, man, I had some money in my pocket. You know, I still had some money left over from Hank. And back in 2014, believe it or not, I mean, that's not too long ago. You could buy a blazer for hardly nothing. Or in my case, you could, you know, pay a little bit of money, you know, $2,500 and the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson that I had in my pocket, you know. The cat, he wanted to get rid of it, and I didn't give 2 shits about the gun. So here you go, man. And dude, it was just, at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was cool. I had no idea what it was, man. And, but I bought it. It was, the trim wasn't on it. You know, obviously the wheels, it was lowered. It had a set of rallies on it, beauty rings, nothing fancy, you know, the interior was good. But he had done some kind of country boy stuff. You know, he built a weird center console, just some weird stuff, but it was clean, man. The body was good, no rust, floorboards were great, the top was in great shape, all the glass was good, but I just wanted to put my touch on it. And I always look back at Hank, and I'm like, man, my heart hurt, man, when I got rid of Hank after we knew what was happening with our son. So I kept wanting to grasp for Hank. I kept wanting to grasp for that or reach for that style and what we had started and not finished, because I that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone starts something and doesn't finish it. I can't stand it. It drives me insane. And so this was kind of a buffer. This was kind of a in between, because of course I got my priorities with Louie and my wife and family, but this was something that I could work on. I could tinker with. I could do a little bit here, do a little bit there, do the air ride, put the wheels on it, clean it up, get it painted, and cruise it.
When you're looking for classic Chevy or GMC truck parts, brotherstrucks.com is your number one source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration parts. So whether you are restoring an original or looking to customize that classic truck, brotherstrucks.com has thousands of the highest quality truck parts for you to choose from. So head over to brotherstrucks.com and order your free catalog today. And don't forget to follow Brothers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates and special offers too. Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT-based power plant? We've got great news for you. PSI Conversion is offering our listeners 10% off your order. Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. And don't forget, use code C10TALK and save 10% today. You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Don't forget the interior of your build. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. Whether you want a direct fit into the stock bezel or something custom. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. The new RTX series is really incredible. I think it stands for retro, but it should stand for rad. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. You can change the lighting colors, customize the reading in the message centers, and do it all from the mobile app. That's right, the HDX and RTX series have Bluetooth technology, so you can mess with them from your phone. I'm looking at RPM, trip odometer, percent fuel, oil pressure, and now I have the GPS set up. I can tell you direction, elevation, and even outside temp. Damn, son, it's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. And you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook too.
This was kind of a buffer. This was kind of a in between, because of course I got my priorities with Louie and my wife and family, but this was something that I could work on. I could tinker with. I could do a little bit here, do a little bit there, do the air ride, put the wheels on it, clean it up, get it painted, and cruise it. And that's what we did. We started out, we did the bag job on it. It's not body, it wasn't bodied, it wasn't none of that shit. We put a simple, we threw together a kit. It wasn't AccuAir, it wasn't airlift. It was just I think it had a set of Parkers, manual valves on it, independent valves, because I knew those are reliable. I could throw, a couple extras in the center console. If one broke on me when we were on the side of the road, I could get up under it, replace it, boom, we're back on the road, So super simple, probably I think it had an ABS little switch box in it, nothing fancy. We did the bag job first. Then, like I said, all the trim, man, all the factory trim, all that came with the truck. It wasn't on it. But when I left that day, when I bought it, man, it had everything was in the back. The center console, the original center console, the trim, all the badges, the K5 badges, the Cheyenne badges, the dash bezel, you name it. The guy kept everything that he took off, which was so great. So, like I said, we bagged it. Then you
buy it local? Did you find it local?
Yeah, bought it local. Just a couple counties over, maybe an hour drive, hour and a half. Actually drove it home when we bought it. So it was local. It's a North Carolina truck. And it was bought near Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where it was originally bought from, the dealership. Had a lot of original paperwork with it when I had it. But a lot of people don't notice, but in the article, if you've got the new C10 Builder's Guide, and I'll post some pictures, but it was actually two-tone. A lot of people don't notice that, but the center, inside the trim was gloss black. We did it gloss, so it was shiny. We did the top, the removable top, it's gloss, it's a shiny black, but then the rest of it is matte black. So unless you really look at it and, the light hit it just right, it was actually two-tone. So that I wanted to throw it off a little bit because it was a black truck and I wanted to leave it black because that trim just, man, that yellow trim pops on that black. So I wanted to leave that alone. And then, so we put all the trim back on it after we had it painted. The guy that painted the truck for me, he actually painted the wheels, the intros. He actually painted the inserts on the intros. He painted those to match the gloss. And then we took the badge. I think the badge plate off the tailgate, cleaned it up. But man, left the bumpers, left the chrome bumpers on it, left the tow hitch on the back. So we could, for that, we would, for Louie's stuff, if we went to a show, we could put a little carrier on the back if we needed more room, things like that. But basically just cleaned it up and just made a cool little driver out of it. The feature in street trucks, it still has the 350 in it. But like I said, that was done at Bama. Well, in between May and I think Brian Ashley that year of SETN, he had his show. I think it was in July maybe. But in between Bama and SETN, we pulled the 350 out and we put a big block in it. So when I got rid of the Blazer, it had a big block in it. So we did that, and
why did you do that?
The big block?
Yeah. Why? You mean, what was your thoughts? Was the 350 having problems where you're like, hey, my buddy's got one, why not? Was there any specific reason?
So, man, it kind of goes back to Hank. Hank had something different in it. It was going to have an inline 6 in it. And at the time, and I'm sure there's a ton of them now, but I never really seen any K5s with big blocks that really stood out to me. I never really seen, it just never stood out. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, and just to say I did a motor swap in it, so I don't know. And maybe just not, and the fact of Texas, man, the Texas guy is always a big block, something throaty, something that's just big, badass. And I mean, what speaks better than a big block? It's nothing nastier, man. It's just, I don't know. I just loved it. Just to say,
yeah. No, I love it too. And depending on what muffler you're running, and if you're running, manifolds or headers, the sky's the limit. The cool thing that I'm hearing as well is that it was a driver that you could drive and work on, and you were able to throw the family in there, drive it, throw the Bulldog in, drive it, and enjoy it. Where, and yours truly, that's probably the biggest reason why I haven't sold Orange Slice, is just because, I love the truck, but I also love that I have a driver even when you're working on other stuff. So I've got something that I can jump in, head across state lines, head to the local show, whatever it is. So there's something to be said about, always having that driver if you can. And it doesn't have to be a 6-figure truck. It can be a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25,000. I think your article even said you might've built the Blazer for like 15,000.
And honestly, it was probably less than that. It was, hell, I think the most expensive thing was the wheels and tires. It's to me, it's about building them, being able to drive them, and just have fun with them. And even when I met Solomon, I asked Solomon, I was like, dude, why do you want to shoot this thing? It didn't have inner fenders in it, had a shitty block off plate where I pulled the heater off of it. It just looked like shit under the hood. I'm sitting here looking at it right now, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Solomon, like, why'd you take that photo? But when I was talking to him and I asked him, I said, Solomon, why do you want to shoot this truck, man? He said, dude, no disrespect. And this is why I respect him so much, because he's honest. And his style of clothes, I love it. But, he was honest with me, man. He said, Lou, this truck would be perfect for the guy that doesn't have a huge budget, that can continue to work on it and drive it at the same time. And that might piss some guys off, but it was the truth. I didn't have a huge budget. I don't have a huge budget now. never will on a truck, but it's like, that's what it's about, man. It's about being able to basically learn. I mean, if you're look, man, some guys, more power to them. I love them all. They have a shop build $100,000 truck. Dude, I would love to have that. I would love to be able to do that. And maybe one day. But for me, it's actually getting in the garage, calling your buddies, whether your buddies come over and help you or not. Just asking the questions, getting your hands dirty, getting in and doing it. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, that sucks. But you're going to figure out a way to make it work. And with the Blazer, like, man, it didn't have inner fenders. Like, where was, and I'm almost positive that Mike Losh was already doing, his inner fenders and stuff. But I was just driving it, man. That didn't really matter to me at the time, but it needed that. It needed some other things. I mean, there was not even a grommet in the damn firewall. I'm looking at it and it's like, shit, I can see straight through to the interior, but it was cool, man. And
what you're forgetting is that at the time your lens and your baseline and everything's different. And that's what's so cool about it, right? That you might not allow that out of your garage, or you might not allow it to be shot now, but I sure hope that you're thankful that it was, because at the time you might be like, yeah, why are you shooting this? But we're all starting and we're all somewhere. They all can't be, $200,000+ builds. And there's a lot more people building that kind of shit than there are people building, 6-figure times over and over. Now, granted, we like to see them. It's cool to see them, but sometimes you go to shows, and that's one thing I think is such a unifier, is you can have somebody who's got a $24,000 Blazer and you have somebody who's got a $250,000 Blazer, and they're parked right next to one another, and they're breaking bread, they're drinking beer, and you're like, oh, cool, I like what you did here. Oh, cool, I like here. And it, whether one guy's, working at Wall Street and one guy's, sharpening surgical equipment. Maybe the guy with the Blazer that's 6 figures, he's the doctor that's doing the surgery, and you're the guy sharpening his tools. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is there's a place for everything. And that's what's so cool about it. And now more than ever, because it was shot 4+ years ago, that,
man, you're exactly right. And I mean, it was really, when John Maddow, when he reached out to me about the article, I had wrote the article 4 years ago. But then he hit me up and he's like, hey, man, he said, I need you to, he sent me a bunch of other questions, and I kind of forgot. But then it rejuvenated me, from when I had the Blazer, and like how I built it, the time that I took to build it, with all the other stuff that we had going on in our life. It took me back to a lot of those happy moments, in a time that we had some really dark moments, but we had a lot of good ones when we cruised the Blazer up to the mountains. We took it up to a show in the mountains. Louie was just a little baby, man. We had his little red wagon, and it was in the back. We got pictures of coming back down from Pilot Mountain, and he's sitting in the front seat, and there was a lot of good times, a lot of great experiences. And I learned a lot with that Blazer. And it's stepping stones, like the blue truck, the long bed, I never named it, but that was my girl, that was the first one. And then I'm like, okay, well, now with Hank, I'm going to take it out, man. We're going to blow it out. Well, then I had to step back a little bit, we had to step back, and because life changed. And the Blazer, still a really nice truck, but we didn't go as far with the Blazer, Dirty Sanchez. And then, we sold it, and it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of trucks in between the Blazer, Dirty Sanchez, and Louie, but I learned a lot, and I set myself up for, all right, man, here's the next one, and we're gonna really do what we can with what we got, but we're gonna try to make it really special,
Yeah,
so,
I love the journey, like you said. I mean, it's essentially a microcosm of life. You're gonna learn as you go, and you're gonna keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna. It's so funny how we end up looking back on, where you took the Blazer up to the mountains, and you don't know it at the time, but then you look back and you're so fond of that, and you have to kind of pinch yourself to say, hey, I'm going to look back on taking Louie out to the get down, and I'm going to look back on taking the Bell truck out, and I'm going to look back on taking the the 74 GMC striped McGillicuddy spaghetti special out, so there's so many different things. And for the audience, they're like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, we're going to get into some of that. What happened to the Blazer?
So a funny story with that, man. This community's crazy. So the Blazer, man, I really wanted, so the second truck that I ever owned was a '03 GMC Sierra 4-wheel drive. It was a '03.
Oh, Cat Eye.
Well, no, it was the GMC front end.
Oh, okay. I don't like that front end, by the way. Don't take it personal. I'm a Chevy on that. I have a Chevy. I have a classic, and I do not like the GMC in that one. You know what? Let me take that back. I like the GMC in a tool drive. Shorty, my Goose had one. I just like the Cat. I'm a Cat Eye guy.
So that was man. When I got that truck, that was kind of my hauler. My tow pig for. When I used to take my little Civic, when I used to take it to shows, like the mini truck shows, when we'd go to Memphis, Tennessee to the RA All-Star event, or we go to mini truck Nats back in the day, or Pigeon Forge or whatever. But that was a special truck to me too, because, it was my second truck and I bought it, paid cash for it, just super nice truck. But so this guy, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Eric, maybe. He was from Michigan or Indiana, and he had built a '03 GMC crew cab short bed. It was already bagged. It wasn't body drop, but it was bagged. 26-inch intros on it. Super nice truck. The color was that graphite metallic. And I had seen it at, like Camp and Drag. I had seen some videos and pictures of it. And when I seen that truck, I was like, I've got to have that truck. So the Blazer, I think for me, had kind of ran its course. I was like, okay, I got to the point to where I still had a little bit left to do on it, and I just gotten burned out on it again. I'm like, man, I gotta get something else. So but I really didn't want to work on anything. Like I didn't want to, I don't know. It was a weird time. So I found that crew cab, and
just so you're so normal. Don't think that you're not, right? I mean, some of these guys, that's why I always kind of say, like, if you can buy something, and I always tell Sam he's a good 5-10%er, because it takes that. We all get to the 90%, right? And we all try to. So, and then you're something shiny over here, or you're just like, dude, I'm so tired. I want to get out and enjoy this thing. It's a sunny day, and it's so hard to finish that last, I'll be 1,000,000% honest. There's 5 things I could do to Orange Slice, right? There's 10 things I could do to Yellowstone. I'm working on my 74 Blazer. I mean, there's so many things that can always be done, but unfortunately, life doesn't slow down. It just keeps going faster, and you're just trying to, like, okay, babe, this has been 3 years, and at least with Dirty Sanchez, with your 77, you were able to drive it and enjoy it. So it totally makes sense, man. It totally makes sense. I mean, it happens all the time. People are like, why'd you sell that? Well, I had to move on to the next thing. Well, hindsight's absolutely crystal clear. I can look back and think I should have never sold it. But then you wouldn't get the '03. Then you wouldn't do this, and you wouldn't do this. So it's funny. Just, hey, I tell guys, try your best to keep one wife, and then go through your changes with your trucks. Yes, it's cheaper. It's cheaper. I'm telling you.
No, you're right, man. You're right. And like I said, I seen the '03. It was just all up my alley, man. Little shop. Eric had built a red one back in the day. And it was an actual Cat Eye truck, I believe. Beautiful truck, and this one really reminded me of that truck. So I sold Dirty Sanchez. I sold the Blazer to Benny. So Benny Carlot, the one that is he's one of the right hand guys. Me, him, and Casey for the C10 Fall Revival. So Benny's brother was looking for a truck. Well, he wanted my Blazer. So him and his wife, they made me an offer on it, and the rest is history, man. He took it. They had it for, I guess they've had it for maybe a year and a half, going on 2 years. And then I believe they just sold it. And I believe it is in New Jersey now. So it's moved north. So it's moved on. I hope that whoever has it enjoys it, and, just put some miles on it, and hopefully I'll see it around soon. But I'm glad it's gone. You know, I'm glad it's gone and it's doing bigger and better things. So,
well, and you're glad that it served your family when it served your family, and you had it was like, I had a good ride with that thing.
that's it, man. It was fun. Louie had fun. The times, man, I got videos when we had the top off of it and we'd go, cruising. There's a little creamery, not too far from the house, and we'd go get ice cream, almost once a week, and we take the top off, and man, it was just the best times, and hey, man, we had fun and we enjoyed it, but it was time to move on.
Nice. Well, you moved on. You found a 1979 GMC. Obviously, like you said, there's multiple different things that might pop in, pop out, but
Yep.
your bigger build. And before we get to Louie, break down when you became relaxed.
So that was I actually had the 03, the bagged 03 crew cab. I had, and which I also had Louie at the time, the 79. The 79, I had met, his name's Eddie Gordy. Eddie is the chapter head of North Carolina Relaxed. And I've known Eddie for a long time because he only lives maybe an hour from me. We used to cruise, the main drag and all that stuff back in the day, but we was never really like acquaintances. We never really, close friends, but Eddie's that guy is a master at metalwork. And I had reached out to him and asked him to build the bed floor in Louie. So in the midst of him doing that, we started talking and just becoming friends. And I asked about petitioning for Relaxed. And, I talked to Dave Schneider, with the blown 427, some of the other guys, and I started petitioning for them. And then I guess it was 2020 was when I got logoed at LST and I had my crew cab. So been with them for a couple of years now, and man, just a solid group of guys, man, and girls.
You're a COVID kid, right? It's funny because I look at 2020 LST as like it was life before COVID. Like I remember driving home, it's Monday, and you're starting to hear like something's going on in Washington State, and you're like, well, what the hell's that? And it's funny to think like LST 2020, and then life after that. Like our life changed for a few years, and we're slowly but surely getting back. So I'm glad you got it in 2020, not 2021.
Dude, life changed, brother. So it was it's been things, a lot has changed, good and bad, but yeah, that was the start of being with Relaxed. And man, it's some of the solidest guys that I've ever met, man.
Good,
great dude.
Good. It only keeps getting better. I love it.
Yeah.
And your builds are getting better. So we've got, I don't want to skip over the OBS. I love what you're doing there. You've done just a few little things. The Bell South truck. I think that's such a cool truck, and we're going to start seeing those, because a lot of those trucks were work trucks. So for the audience, jump into that and see his, what year is that one?
So the Bell South truck, it's a 98, and I just sold that.
Okay.
It's gone.
All right.
So it was a 98. That's actually the first. No, I'm not the first OBS. I had a 3500, a 2000 model 3500. Had that truck for a long time. But the Bell South truck, everybody was doing it. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna get on the bandwagon and put my spin on it. And I started with a Bell South truck and had a pretty cool little story with it. And LS swap, basic bumpers, grill, headlight conversion, all the little, knickknacks. And, it's gone to a new home. I mean, it was funny. This past weekend, we had a big show at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And, probably I think it was like 3,250 entries at the car show. But then you have all these other classics that are cruising around. And the guy that bought the OBS, the Bell South truck, we met up at the South Carolina, C10 South Carolina cruise in, and we parked right beside each other. So I had two trucks that I had built, Louie and the Bell South truck, parked side by side. So that was pretty cool. That was good. Loved it.
Well, I went and visited Coastal Carolina about 10 minutes from Myrtle Beach with my daughter. I think maybe I need to tell her that she needs to go out there. I was It's too far for me, so I wasn't that hip on it. But if 3,200 vehicles are, yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's
I don't know, man. It's called Dirty Myrtle. I'd probably keep her as far away from it as possible.
No, she's not going there. They didn't have the engineering she wanted, and so she's got her eyes set on a few other places. But we had a good visit. It was cool. Very cool place. I could see it'd be a fun place to go to college. But yeah, she's got a couple other bigger fishes to fry right now. So speaking of big fishes to fry, I mean, it's one thing to be in the C10 Builders Guide after 4 years of getting shot at Battle in Bama, but you bring Louie out, your 1979 GMC. There's a little bit of hype going into it. I was watching it. We were having a good time. You and I were talking, and you're like, hey, I'm going to come to the 2022 Get Down. I want to get out there. I want to bring my family. You do. It was, your social media, everybody's watching. We got to hang out with Louie. We got to hang out with you. You came by the booth. And then you got on the cover of CK Magazine. So like I said, hotter than a hot pocket that's been overcooked. You literally are in 2 publications. You probably sent your stuff off to the, I forget whatever the hell it's called. It's the, frame this in the media now or whatever. And I can only imagine you're tickled pink. So great shoot. Looks like it screams Brian Good because of the, maybe Kevin Aguilar. I didn't actually look because Kevin loves that cotton field. So I love the shot. The red pops right off the cotton, and you're literally the centerfold as well. So in the latest, I'd say the latest, but I actually got my latest in the mail today, which has got Brian Vowell and his dually on there. So
Bankrupt, man. Beautiful.
Yeah, Bankrupt. So we've got Louie. Another thing, Scott, thank you for keeping the name the name. I appreciate it. I gave those guys a hard time when they were on. I was like, it's okay to keep the name the name. You don't have to. I love giving Sam a hard time about the pool boy, which is Paolo Verdi. So I'm glad they didn't call it something else. But yeah, you're in it to win it. You're right here. Congratulations. Absolutely well deserved. The interior, the style, exactly like what you said. You kept it, period correct. And I'll tell you my favorite part about this truck.
What is that?
So you bought a C10 and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. In most cases, the SureFit systems will be controlled by your stock dash controls using their exclusive cable converters. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Add the fact that Vintage Air has been the most respected name in performance aftermarket climate control systems for 40 years. 40 years? Damn, son. The choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They not only design the products, but also design the tooling to build the products, guaranteeing quality control. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bed wood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com.
Hey guys, I've got Andrew from Painless Wiring on. Andrew, what's the latest?
Just working on producing these GM truck harnesses, our best moving vehicle specific, and we're just, super excited to be able to service such a great community of truck guys.
Made in the USA. You guys are probably cranking them out nonstop. A ton of our audience is out there buying these trucks, building these trucks, and they know, hey, Painless Performance has got me taken care of.
Factory options, aftermarket stuff. If you have any questions, call our tech guys. They'll walk you through anything you need to know, and we'll make sure your truck gets wired up right the first time.
If you want to clean up your underdash, you want to clean up your chassis, it's that easy. Painlessperformance.com, painlessperformance.com. Thanks, Andrew. The interior, the style, exactly like what you said. You kept it, period correct. And I'll tell you my favorite part about this truck.
What is that?
White bumpers.
I knew it, man.
Dude, I love white bumpers, man. White bumpers it's so funny how even when you were like my 83, my first truck, the chrome grill, the chrome bumpers and all that. And that was the time. Dude, white bumpers stopped me in my tracks. It just something about a white bumper. And then obviously with the red, with the wheels, with the stance, with the seat. So good for you. So for you guys out there, I can't imagine you haven't seen Lou's 1979 GMC Sierra. It's plastered all over social media from the get down all the way to today. And we're seeing it in print. So walk us through this truck and congratulations.
No, thank you, Ronnie. I can't thank you enough, man. And so, man, the 79, that was, wow. It was August 2019. It was like July, August. And you got to think, man, right? So 2019 is the first year of the revival. That was the first year that we, thought we were, hip to be square and we were going to do a freaking show. But so just a few months before that, like I said, we're in deep, man, trying to get this show together. And I'm just, man, I'm flipping these trucks and I'm buying and selling and, whatever, trying to make a little scratch. And so I find this 79, it's on Marketplace, and it's only about maybe an hour away, a little hour and some change away. This Hispanic gentleman, he owns it. He's had it for quite a few years, and he had it priced super cheap, man. It was like, I think he had it priced for like $2,000. And like I said, this is in 2019. So this is fairly recent, so he had it priced really cheap. And I'm like, well, shit, it'll be a super quick one, man. I can put a couple thousand on it, make a little buck and move on. Went down to, I think it was Salisbury, North Carolina. Took my trailer, went by myself, drove down, man. I got there and I seen it. The first thing I seen was the white bumpers. It's like, oh man, it had the white bumpers and had the white steel wheels with the GMC factory hubcaps on it. I'm like, man, this thing is perfect. So I get in it, it's a 3 on the tree, little inline, like a 230 in it. Just
yeah. I mean, that goes with the white bumper. That goes with it, right? That it goes with it. Easy fix.
Man, bare bones work truck. Didn't even have. I don't even know. Yeah, it had the had the high beam button in the floor. I just love that, man. And even being 3 on the tree, freaking love it. So. Me and the guy, we come up with a deal, and I load it up and bring it home.
You stole it. Come on.
Oh, dude, stole it, man. Stole it.
You were like, dude, it's only an inline 6. It's 3 on the tree. I don't even know how to drive a 3 on the tree. It's got white bumpers. I mean, come on. I mean, it's bare bones. And the whole time you're thinking it's not bare bones, it's good bones.
It's the bones.
Oh man, yeah.
It is the bones, man. So I'm like, I can make a this will be gone quick. So I load it up, bring it home. The whole way home, man, I'm just thinking like, Hank is like right here, It's like, man, if it had these big wheels on it, and now like, on Hank, man, it was like 24 by 10s in the rear, but now you got like 24 by 15s, 24 by 12s with a huge lip. And it's like, man, big block, the big block that I put in Dirty Sanchez, if it only had a big block in it and, have some metal work. Well, now, you got Josh Hart with Hart Fab, put some of his kick-ass fenders up front. And it's just like, man, this ball is just rolling, and I've got an hour to think about it. It's like, God damn it, man, I don't need to think like this. So when I get home, it's like I said, it's August. So it's nice and warm outside. And it was in the evening. I got video. My wife, her and Louie met me at the back door, and she was taking video of the truck. And when I got it, when I pulled in the driveway and, I was like, give me Louie, so I put Louie, I put my boy in the front seat with me and, cause he loves them too, man, he loves trucks. So I put him in there, we rolled it off the trailer and man, he just lit up, man. Like I could just feel him, I could just feel his energy. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't think I can get rid of this truck. And so, we did that. We drove it a little bit. Well, then I started looking through the glove box and looking under the seat and found the build sheet, the SPID, and, found all this other paperwork. The guy that I bought it from, he had logged his oil changes. He logged his, parts here and there, this and that. And it just got better and better. The floors were good. The doors were good. It had a little cancer on the outside, like on the bed corners, the bed posts, things like that. But it wasn't rot, just a really solid canvas. So me and my wife, we talked, and I'm like, we're going to keep it. And she's like, well, let's do it. Let's build it. Let's build a Hank, let's finish a Hank. So we started.
How about that dealer badge, bro?
Dude,
do not skip that. Do not skip that.
So a lot of people talk shit to me because it's Dennis Dillon is still in business in Idaho, and it's a sombrero. So it goes with Dirty Sanchez. It goes with the Mexican part of this, like the Perez, it just, so many things with the truck just fit. It's got the funky headlights that people hate. I love them, man. It just, I don't know. It's a GMC, it's a Sierra. It's bare bones. It's white bumpers. It's just everything to me. There's a dent in the front fender, driver's side fender. People ask like, what happened there? I don't know, but it knows. The truck knows.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might not notice the doors. When I was lifting the cab up one day, I kind of bent the top of the door, but I kind of blended it in, but that's part of my story with the truck. So
who's running for sheriff? Have you ever looked that one up?
I have no idea, man. It was it looks like a North Carolina sticker, but it's just not. It's not legible enough to really see, and it's like embedded. Like you run your hand across it, and it's like it just blends. I mean, it's seamless.
For the audience, you think about the old, 84 Reagan Bush. This is some sheriff sticker. You could still see the blue. It says sheriff at the bottom. Yeah, it's perfect. So speaking of running for sheriff, is it Benny and Lou, or is it Lou and Benny for president? How does it go? How does that go together? My inside scoop on my reporting is I got inside scoop that, it's Benny and Lou, but I was kind of like, I thought it might be Lou and Benny.
So I think, so Casey's a man on that. So Benny, of course, Benny and Biden, those names kind of look alike. And then with Biden's logo, it was just a cool little, sticker for Benny. And man, that actually did really well. I mean, I see coolers, I see window stickers. I mean, I like refrigerators in people's garages, man, on social media. And there's a Benny for president or Benny 2020, so it was just a cool little stick.
Casey does a good job of that. Big Casey Harris. That's how I met him. He sent me some stuff where it was the Obama. It was Obama, but he put Dell in there. And so we were messing with Dell because Sam made some stickers. So Dell for president. And then Casey picked up on it and made some cool stuff. So that's how we got to know the one and only. And obviously he's part of the Three Amigos for you guys and what you guys do with the Fall Revival. You guys took a break. You guys outgrew the Smith Concrete place, right? And I was fortunate enough to come out there. I think it was the second show in 20, I think.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So then 21, you had it. 22, you didn't have it. And 23, it's back.
Yeah, we're back, man. It's we've got a huge area this year. We've got a huge venue, 2 days, bigger vendors, more vendors, still free to the gym pop. It's still free for the trucks. It's like I said, man, with the Revival, when we first started, when me, Benny, and Casey talked about it, I mean, we really, and Dino knows this. I mean, I talked to Dino a lot, and, we're modeling it off of Dino's Get Down. I mean, that's what it's about, man. The vendors don't mind paying for the show. The vendors are what makes the show, and they, the spectators and the participants, man, they love it, and I think that's why it's growing. So
I'll tell you something funny is we struggle with the reunion with that because Dino spoils everybody so much. And then we have to pay for the parking garage. We have to pay for the park. We have to pay for everything. And $30, people might be like, I mean, last year they were definitely like that. This year, I didn't hear one word this year about it. Last year, our first year, people are like, why would I spend money to go to the show? Because, I don't have to spend money when I go to the Get Down, which that's what we love about it. Right. And that's what we love about your show. And that's what we love about it. But you go to Good Guys and you got to drop $60, and that's just to get through the door. Now, it's funny because I'm in the middle on that now because the parking garage, you're like, man, if we could get all this stuff for free, some of these guys, I talk to them, and the cities are kicking them back all this money because they know that they're bringing, heads in beds, and they're bringing all that. And then I'm over here fighting with the city because they're charging me, X amount, a lot more than I thought for a little park. And you're like, well, all right, here we go. So I don't think people realize it's not a big money maker when you factor in how much work you're doing. And you guys are doing it. You guys took a year off. The reunion, the C10 Fall Revival, love it, love the time, love that I was able to go to the initial venue that you had, and and the new venue. So let's talk about the venue. Let's talk about what you guys got going on. What are you expecting? It's going to be huge.
So yeah, it's going to be huge, man. I mean, we've this is going to sound crazy, and I mean, I know. Look, man, the first year revival, let's take it back to 2019. The very first one, people don't understand, but we didn't start planning that show till August, and it was in October. We started planning in August, and that's why we said, like, man, if it's just me, Casey, and Benny there having a beer and maybe a slice of pizza, hey, man, success. We made it, and then we had like over 200 that first year, and it's like, oh shit, what did we do wrong? But it was so right. And then the next year, it was over 800. And then, in 2020, it was over 1,200. It's like, shit. Well, and it's not only the trucks, it's the spectators. That's what really, I'm not going to say hurt us, but it really blew us out of that spot.
You're saying that you had that many spectators?
No, it was over 1,200 trucks, but that's like, just say 2 people per truck. But then you have,
You're saying when we came in 2020, there was 1,200 trucks?
No, in 2020, there was a little over 800.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There was
a little over 800 in 2020. And then in 2021, the last sticker that we handed out was like 1,236. And we stopped handing them out because it was just kind of pointless. It's like, we just can't keep up.
And the other thing that I felt was amazing was how because you guys were so remote that it was like, well, we got to park all the spectators across the street, and the aerial shot, and you see all, the Smith concrete acreage and the ranch. And then you're like, well, shit, look across the street. There's just, it's crazy. So now, growing pains.
Yeah, no, it was definitely growing pains. And the thing is, man, it's like, I don't want to say that we canceled last year. I don't like that. And some people, they say, oh, well, what happened? Did you guys hate each other now? Or it's like, no, it's like me, Casey, and Benny, we all talked. And, like I said, the fact is that we grew out of that spot. That is a very apparent. And if you don't realize that, then you obviously wasn't there. But the thing is that we are not going to have a show in a Walmart parking lot just to have a show. The vibe, we've talked about it, you and I, all of us, Dino, Craig Rowley, all these guys, Brian Ashley, Terry Hill. I've talked to these guys, and the vibe is what makes a show. I mean, for me, you got to have that vibe, and you got to keep it. If you move to some weird parking lot just to have a show, that's not what makes it. So we regrouped, we backed up, we took I'm not going to say a break because we were working our ass off, in that interim, to try to find another venue. Casey has worked his butt off, man, to, people don't realize insurance policies and, logistics of trying to find a venue that can house trailers, that can house camping, that can house, everything, one venue. And especially in our neck of the woods, I guess, it really is in the woods. But to find a spot that can house that many people for 2 days, it's like a Woodstock, And so we didn't really take a break. We just we punted, and we regrouped, and now our venue is probably 5 times as big as the Smith concrete plantation or acreage. It's huge. They have, so this year, and I don't want to give too much out just yet, but there's on-site camping. So you can camp if you have campers. And I know a lot of people just come with their campers. They don't even bring a truck. They just want to hang out. So we have on-site camping, all the trailers that are coming in from out of states. You'll have on-site trailer parking. You have on-site spectator parking. Now we have enough room, and we have the platform for big rigs. So when big rigs come in, as far as vendors, like these big vendors that want to come in, whether it's a GM Performance or a rubber seal vendor that has a huge truck, those guys can come in now. We have room for lots of vendors, and we have tons of room for trucks. We're waiting until probably a few more weeks, maybe the end of April. We're gonna do some pretty cool little promo videos of the venue, because like all the trees will be bloomed, the flowers will be really nice, the grass will be nice. So in about a month, maybe 2 months, you guys will start to see. We're gonna start rolling it out so everybody can kind of get a visual of what it's gonna be. A lot of tree cover. You can bring tents, you can bring your canopies, and it's still gonna have that country vibe, man. That family reunion kind of vibe,
Yeah. So 2 things: fly into what airport?
So the nearest airport, it's actually, you could fly into probably 2 major airports. Greensboro, North Carolina, which that's what is that, Elizabeth? That's PTI. That's PTI airport. That's about an hour from the venue. And then you have Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the big one. So Charlotte is probably going to be about 45 minutes if you fly in.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got those 2. And then now the venue is centrally located between 3 major, not major, but let's say established cities. Lexington, North Carolina, which is like the barbecue capital of North Carolina. You have Asheboro, North Carolina, and then you have Albemarle, which was previous. That's the closest to the last venue. There's hotel, dining, all that stuff. So there's stuff to do. And we're going to get all that together, and we'll be posting all that here soon. And there's a lot more that we've got that we're going to add for everybody to be doing and taking part of.
And it's 10, 20, and 21 this year?
10, 20, and 21.
October
20th
and 21st.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's it.
So if you really want to get fancy, it's 20, 21, 22 of 23. So however you guys want to mess with it, but yeah. So no registration need. No, it's free. You don't have to register. They're going to hand out stickers, and you don't have to cap it. You could just let them in, right? Let them all in. So that's a pretty awesome thing. So stuff will be getting out. It sounds like as the seasons change and we get into more spring and summer, you guys will be putting more stuff out. For you guys out there, it's really not that hard. You just follow C10 Fall Revival. I'll gladly repost and help out however. So what's next? You've got Louie, you're going to enjoy that. Sounds like you've already been enjoying that. You went down to Dirty Myrtle. You had a good time. Your people are loving it. You guys brought it all the way out to, Glendale, Arizona. People absolutely loved it. Louie loved it. We loved it. Yep. And is it to where you're at the point where you're really happy and you've knocked out that 5-10%? You've finished it, or you got a few things to do with the truck?
So now, man, it's got, after this past weekend, it's probably got 50 miles on it. So I put about 50, 60 miles on it. Still a little nervous just because it's the first build that I've ever went all the way with. I finally hit that finish line. There is probably another 5%. I think the biggest thing is probably I'd be backing up, but I want to put a big brake kit on it. I really need to put a big brake kit on it. And then digital gauges. I think some Dakotas. Just with Dakotas right now, man, it's just so hard to, the time, the weight, and all that.
But put in for it now. You'll get them. Get the RTXs, and you're going to be able to get the red in there, and they look, just crisp and clean and no caffeine, man. It is easily one of my favorite things, especially the RTXs, because you get the old school look, you get the vibe. You're sitting there in the daylight. It looks like old school. You got your little screen down there, bam, you pull your headlight on, it flips a switch, you can go red, you can, Louie will love it, and yeah, you'll really enjoy it. So if you guys haven't realized, we're sponsored by Dakota Digital, and even if I wasn't, I love them, and yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, that's I think that will wrap it up. I did talk to the guys with was it Engineered Vintage, the ones that do the grills?
Yeah, Big Ben.
Yeah. Yep. I talked to him out in Arizona, so I think we're going to do something. I want to do something with the GMC for the grill. So hopefully that'll get that in the works. But other than that, man, I think I like it how it is. It's what I had envisioned from the beginning. I did a rendering of it when I very first started on it, and it's pretty damn close to the rendering. So.
Well, and the ultimate thing about this, especially because you came from Hank and now you have Louie, is a little ding, a little character. It's a little different, right? You don't have to stress, and you can look at that truck and be like, all right, no big deal. I'm not going to lose any more hair because I put some more character into this truck that just has so much character already built into it.
Man, it's exactly what I wanted. Louie, if his wheelchair bumps the door, hey, it just adds to the story. If something gets scratched, it's okay. It's shiny paint causes stress, so.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's funny for the audience. If you get a chance, go check out his Instagram, because you get to see this truck that doesn't look like it does now. The paint is, old and chalky, and you guys brought it back for sure. What's going on with the Arizona truck? You guys, you found that out here. I remember talking to you about it. I love that truck. I remember seeing it. It's so clean. Of course, the exact same thing. I think you and I even talked about it. It was kind of like, hey, this orange slice recipe, it's got tons of character. It's probably one of the cleanest damn trucks. I think it's a 73 GMC, 74, because it's got the tailgate. Is it a 3? Okay. So a lot of times 3s don't have the band, they have the stamp, and that's why I wasn't sure. So 73 GMC first year, it's got the paint. It's got a lot of character. Are you going to keep that? You're going to build it? It sounded like you were like, hey, somebody buy it so I don't have to build it. I can just enjoy Louie, but maybe nobody bought it for what you were thinking.
Yeah, so man, there was a few issues right when I was ready to sell it, man. I think the motor took a crap on me. So that was right after we got back from Dino's. I was going to start working on it and just get it ready to sell, because I was really getting into the OBS stuff. And so I think the motor took a little bit of a shit on me, but man, the body, super clean body, no rust, no rot. I mean, tons of paperwork. I mean, it's got the gentleman that owned it for most of its life, 2 full trapper keepers of just documentation of headliners, brake controllers that he put on it, the different paint. I mean, just documentation after documentation, which is really cool. But I actually just talked to one of my guys, the guy that did some work on my OBS. He laser cut some plates for the rear bumper. He's doing frames now. He's getting into doing frames. And I think we're going to do a coilover frame for it. Then we're going to do a coilover frame. My wife, man, she's my biggest cheerleader, man. And she wants to build it into a coilover truck, shorten the bed. Everybody hates me for it, but hey, buy it. Buy it if you don't want to see me cut it up. But I think we're going to do a short bed conversion, put it on a short chassis, and make a coilover truck out of it, do a LS, and she wants to drive it to Dino's. So
yeah, well, I'm telling you, I mean, the recipe's not that much different. People go crazy because you take these original paint trucks and they're very rare. But the bottom line is it's no different than a truck that's sitting out in the field for 20 years. You found it, you bought it, you're giving it a whole new life. I had the opportunity to take the second owner of Orange Slice and have him come and drive this truck after I did everything you're talking about. And he just loved it. Right. And you're going to give this truck a whole new lease on life, and that recipe that you're talking about, you won't regret it at all.
No, that's
your wallet might, but you won't.
That's our goal, man. Yeah, the wallet, man, is tight. But no, we're I think that's what we're going to do, because I'm a person, I believe in things happen for a reason, and I think that it took a shit on me when it took a shit, because I think he just wants to stay here. So I think that was the sign. I took it, I took all the ads down, and it's going to stay. So I think we're going to keep it, and we'll start working on it here soon. So
I can't wait to see what wheels you're going to put on it, because that, to me, when I look at that truck, and of course I built that truck in my head the second I saw it, and that's the absolute hardest part of that build is going to be figuring out that those wheels, because everything else you're saying is easy, right? The interior is mint, the stance, the paint, but what's funny about that truck is it has so much personality built into it. It doesn't need much more. A little bit to accent it. You figuring out what wheels, because you've got the stance, you're going to have the motor, the paint's already given to you, and the radness, if you will, it's already there. So it's going to be, you already know what wheels, or you going to,
Bro, I'm telling you, like Ryan Meyer, Ryan.
Yeah.
The wheels that he has on Dirty Martini, dude, that's what I got in my head.
All right. I like you. Now you can't go wrong. So, I mean, yeah. Now, do you have a name for this truck yet?
So we had named it El Macho. That's what we had named it. And we named it El Macho because Louie, my son, he loves Minions, the cartoon Minions. Well, I think it was Minions 2. The villain that was in Minions was El Macho. Well, El Macho is Hispanic, and the truck has like a kind of a Tex-Mex kind of feel to it, So it's El Macho.
To me, I like the name El Macho, and it's a little bit like Nacho Libre, right? Because he wants to be a wrestler. So it's like it is a wrestler, and it has this mask on, and that says personality. You know what I mean? So we need to make a little El Macho wrestling doll that you can have with the truck, and it's like its own wrestling doll truck that you guys have, and that'll actually add to Louie. The easiest way to do this is just have Casey make a sticker, and it's this little El Macho wrestling dude with all those colors and shit. So yeah, that'd be pretty rad.
We'll do a Lucha Libre deal.
Exactly. I'm going to take you out, bro. I appreciate your time. One of the things I as I'm writing everything down, you said this, and I just want the audience, again, not that they need to hear it from you or me or the counseling. The trucks is icing on the cake. And when you look at your life and you said, hey, I won't change anything, I wouldn't change anything, I am where I am, and my family and Louie and Liz, and El Macho, it's like, hey, the trucks and what we do outside of the grind, the work, the family, it's all icing on the cake, and the friends and the relationships and the shows that you put together and the availability to give back it's icing on the cake. And so I appreciate you for taking the time to share your story. It's very important. You're a big part of our community. It's icing on the cake, and we appreciate that. And thank you for to Liz to be your biggest cheerleader, and Louie, as well, because he's digging it, he's loving it, and he's enjoying the ride, whether it's running the Blazer up to get the ice cream, or whether it's bringing it out to the get down, or whether it's I'm at Dad's show.
Yeah, no, dude, it's that means a lot, man, and I really appreciate everything. And I really got to give a shout out to man like Joey Gons, and I know that Joey, he's been on here a few times, and Joey's a huge part of the scene. But, man, when the first year I came to the Get Down was in 2018. I believe it was 2018. That was when it was at Big Surf. First time I ever went. And Joey, I know this has nothing to do with it, man, but it really does. Joey was the first person that I ran into when I flew in. Me and one of my buddies, we flew in. And I knew Joey from social media at Redbox. And, you get a big misperception, I feel like, in any community that people are dicks, right? Because of what they have or what you see that they have and the lifestyle that you think that they live, you think your perception of someone is totally left field. I felt like Joey was probably just a dick. But, man, that could not have been further from the truth. I met Joey, and I just went up to him like, dude, because I'll talk to anybody, but with Joey, I went up to him, and it was kind of intimidating, believe it or not. And this is like, it's like the gayest thing ever, but it's like, I'm kind of weird going up to him because I know what he has as far as his trucks. And I'm like, this is fucking weird. But I went up to him and said, hey, Joey, my name's Lou. And before I could even say anything, he's like, dude, you got the K5, Dirty Sanchez, Cusio. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's me from North Carolina. And dude, give me a hug, you know, just so welcoming. I'm like, you fucking douchebag, Lou. You thought that, but Joey's the coolest son of a bitch I've ever met, man. I love that guy to death. So much respect for him, because after we met that time, he's showed me nothing but love, whether it be in person at LST or at the Get Down. You know, everywhere I've seen Joey, he always comes up and he makes it a point to say hello. He says hello to my wife. But that dude, man, is after I met him, that changed the way I thought about the community. So thank you, Joey. I appreciate it.
And I'm glad you said that. And you said, hey, it doesn't have anything to do with it, but you're right. We get a perception, we get a feeling, and we're so blessed and lucky to have the community that we have, because people don't always realize it, right? There's troubles, you know, that brew and things that go on and relationships, and, you know, it's just life. But there's so many people like Joey that are able to keep this whole thing kind of together. And we have to know that and understand that. So I'm glad that you said that, because you might see somebody and think one thing, but hopefully they change, you know, any type of, it's almost like that saying where you're like, you know, maybe you don't ever want to meet your heroes or the people you look up to, because they might let you down. And in this case, it was the exact opposite. So kudos to Joey, who is a great dude, Joey Gons. And thank you for sharing that and saying that, because that's something that has to be heard, because a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I could see where stuff like that happens.
Dude, it's the truth, man. I mean, and not only Joey, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I could sit here and go on and on about, but that stands out in my mind, because that was, you know, I mean, we spent a lot of money just in airfare and hotels and food and everything. We came out, me and my buddy, and took a chance and to come out and hang out and see what the community was really about from the forum days. You know, like all these guys from the forum, you know, from the forum days are here in this one location at a freaking surf park. We didn't know shit about a surf park. I'd never seen a fucking cactus before. So when Joey was the first guy that I met, and he was so open-armed and just so humble, I was like, man, there's no other community, car, truck, whatever, that I need to be in. This is where I need to be. This is where I'm going to be. And after that, man, it just changed my whole, it just changed, man, and changed for the better. So thank all you guys.
Well, I'm going to let you know that we're happy you picked us, because we're better. We're better for guys like you and Benny and Casey, and you're bringing a whole lot of other people, and whether you realize it or not, you're going to make somebody feel the way that Joey made you feel. And I think you're going to make a whole shit ton of people, just like you said with the guy who reached out to you about, you know, the Ronald McDonald House. And it's funny that, you know, we have to remember, you know, we make impressions on people all the time, and hopefully we can make it, you know, a really positive one. And I appreciate you for doing that. And I appreciate you for saying so much about Joey. And that's it. Let's take it out. The 2023 C10 Fall Revival. Can't wait to kind of see how this all goes. And if there's anything I can do, you know where to get a hold of me. I appreciate it, Lou.
Thank you, Ronnie. I really appreciate it. Thank you, your wife, and your whole crew, man. You guys, what you do, and keep digging, brother. We're gonna keep following that roll. See you, man. Later.
I told you it was good, pod. You gotta start listening to me on this stuff. I'm telling you. Lou, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing the social on everything coming out with the Fall Revival. Anything we can do to help, we will. Please let us know. For you guys out there, thanks again for tuning in. And then episode 259 with Scott Nelson next week. Have a great week. Thanks again for tuning in. Peace.